Daredevil Born Again repeats the tactic used for its first 2 episodes at the season's midway point. No, I don't mean another major death like that of Eldon Henson's Foggy Nelson, which is something hard to match, but the decision to release 2 episodes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's latest TV show at once. The move makes sense as the 2 episodes have a bigger emphasis on action than most of what has come before, directly hitting the biggest complaint the series has had to deal with up until now. But before we get into the review, if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like and comment on the video, and if you're able, please sign up for channel memberships for exclusive content, which really helps us out. Anyway, back to Hell's Kitchen. So, episode 5 is shorter and more of a bottle episode than a continuation of the main storyline, so the decision to pair it up with episode 6, which is more story driven, works. Last week's episode 4 was one of my favourites of the season. Jon Bernthal's Punisher was as great as he had been in Netflix's Marvel shows, and he helped move forward Matt's story by making him confront his feelings over Foggy's death. That continues to build up to Daredevil's return in the latest episodes. While I enjoyed both episode 5 and 6, I have to say the former ranks a little below the latter. The reason for that is, as I said, episode 5 is a bottle episode telling a standalone story that remains largely disconnected from the rest of the season, and that took me by surprise. With the growth of streaming series, we have become used to fewer episodes per season, which makes bottle episodes a thing of the past for these shows. However, Born Again does not see it that way. That leads to Marvel Studios delivering a fun bank robbery. Matt is thrown into the mix with St. Patrick's Day as the backdrop. While it had already been revealed that Mohan Kapoor would return to the MCU as Yusuf Khan, aka Ms. Marvel's dad, his role in the show was still surprising and delightful. Yusuf was one of the most entertaining characters in Ms. Marvel, and his lightheartedness serves to strike an interesting balance with the darkness of Born Again. I also liked how it set up future meetings between Matt and Kamala. The bank robbery had all the elements one would expect. Aggressive robbers, scared hostages, and negotiations. However, by throwing Matt Murdock into that scenario, things got interesting. It was a lot of fun watching him pretending not to be able to take down every robber by himself, choosing the path that would keep all the hostages alive. Matt lived up to Daredevil's Man Without Fear nickname from the comics, exuding confidence even with a gun to his head. The action scenes were violent, and they served to bring Matt closer to being Daredevil again. Ever since the MCU series was announced, I have been looking forward to how the show would handle Muse. The character is one of Daredevil's most fascinating foes in the comics, and I like that Marvel is not shying away from his practice of painting with the blood of his victims. Muse is as dark as I expected, and it makes a lot of sense that, after Matt Murdock had given up being Daredevil for what seemed like forever, Muse's actions are responsible for bringing the Devil of Hell's Kitchen back. What I didn't expect was that Muse would tie back to White Tiger. While Hector Ayala died in episode 3, his niece Angela reveals to Matt that White Tiger was looking into a serial killer who had been kidnapping people near the old subway line. When I watched Muse kidnap Angela, I feared the worst. Thankfully, that was the last straw needed for Daredevil to suit up again. I thought his fight scene with Muse was exciting and dynamic as the trailers made it look, and I cannot wait for Matt to further investigate him. Episode 6 also had an MCU return of its own. Like Ms. Marvel's dad in episode 5, Tony Dalton returned as Jacques Duquesne from Disney Plus's Hawkeye, who has now been acting as the vigilante known as Swordsman. I hope we get to see him properly don his superhero suit. I loved how both Matt and Wilson Fisk's violent natures came out at the end of episode 6, signaling a major shift for Born Again Season 1's final 3 episodes.